The time being 5 p.m. on Wednesday, March the 3rd. I will call to order the regular meeting of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. I'll note that to minimize the risk of exposure to or potential spread of COVID-19, the MPRB has added options for comments to be submitted for its public meetings and hearings virtually. Most commissioners, in fact, all commissioners are calling in to the meeting, and the meeting will be viewable via webcast and television options. The video is also posted on the website, usually 2 days after the meeting. I'll ask the secretary to please call the roll.
Commissioner Severson.
Present.
Commissioner Meyer.
Here.
Commissioner Bourne.
Here.
Commissioner Musich.
Present.
Commissioner French. Commissioner Hassan.
Here.
Commissioner Forney.
Here.
Vice President Vita.
Present.
President Cogill.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. I'll ask now for a motion to approve the agenda with two amendments. The first is to move up the audit entrance presentation to just before reports of officers. Due to a time constraint of our presenters, we want to give them a chance to present and have opportunity for questions. So I'd like to have that moved up. And also, due to a need for additional work on amendments, I'd like to move, or we'd also remove the Hiawatha Golf Course Master Plan from the agenda. Do you have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Point of order, President Cogill.
Yes, Commissioner Bourne.
And maybe it's actually a point of information, but I'm just trying to understand.
Which is it?
Well, it's a point of order, and I guess you can tell me whether I have the correct interpretation of our rules or not. I'm trying to interpret the rule that was passed while I was on paternity leave. Were these proposed amendments to the agenda sent out to commissioners in advance?
I had the same question. I'll turn it over to our parliamentarian to interpret his understanding.
I believe the question is there's an amendment to the agenda that's been posted under the rule. I guess I'd have to ask the secretary, were either of these changes to the amendment, were amendments put out 24 hours in advance, Secretary Ringgold?
President Cogill, Council Rice, the amendment to move the audit entrance meeting up on the agenda was included in the notification that went out last night. The removal of the Hiawatha resolution was not included in that communication.
Okay. I think the answer then under the point of parliamentary inquiry would be the a motion to move up the exit interview would be a 5-vote matter, and the one to remove the Hiawatha one would take 6 votes.
President Cogill?
Yes, Commissioner Meyer.
I'm trying to pull up the rule so I can read it. I'm not finding it right away, but it specifically refers to additions to the agenda requiring advance notice. Removing things from the agenda doesn't.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead with removing both, the vote to remove both items from the agenda.
President Cogill, I guess I would, after hearing our parliamentarians' interpretation of the board rules and legal counsel, I I would trust that interpretation over this first district commissioner. So maybe you could treat them just as separate resolutions, and we can do a motion to suspend the rules on the second one, because it is an amendment to a motion. The motion is to approve the agenda, and there's amendments being offered to that motion. So it does. I would agree with our parliamentarian that it's out of order, and I guess I would.
Thank you. It's noted, Commissioner Bourne, and we will move forward in that fashion. So
Two separate as the one
correct.
amendment that was brought forward, and then a motion to suspend the rules to amend the agenda for the purposes of bringing forward a resolution to amend the agenda again.
So I will ask I have a motion and a second. We're splitting the question. So the first motion is to approve the agenda with moving the audience entrance committee up to just before reports of officers. So that would be the new item 4. Is there any discussion? Not seeing any. I'll ask the secretary to take the roll.
Commissioner Hassan.
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Commissioner Bourne.
Aye.
Commissioner Severson.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
President Cogill.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
Okay, the second action before us is a motion to suspend the rules for the purposes of amending the agenda to remove the Hiawatha Master Plan item from the main board agenda. And I would ask for a motion and a second on this.
So moved. Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Just point of inquiry, President Cogill. This is a motion to suspend the rules to entertain a motion to amend the agenda on something that wasn't given advance notice, correct?
This is a motion to suspend the rules, and then we will consider removing it from the agenda.
Okay. My raise hand function is invisible, but I guess I'd like to speak to the motion if I could.
Go ahead.
Thank you, President Cogill. I guess I would just encourage my colleagues not to support this motion to suspend the rules. It sounds like this rule to our operating procedure. The rules to our operating procedure were evidently there was a lot of thought put into changing them. If I was here, I certainly would have opposed it because I think it makes governing and responding to the public exceedingly difficult. And there are a lot of folks here tonight that virtually that have been waiting 5 years on this item in particular. So I guess I'm just not inclined to support just the removal of it from the agenda this evening after some commissioners went through a very difficult process to change our rules to make it harder to govern, and just the amount of time that we've been working on this issue. So I would encourage my colleagues not to support a suspension.
All right, I'll ask the secretary to please take the roll on suspending the rules.
Commissioner Hassan.
No.
Commissioner Severson.
No.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Commissioner Bourne.
No.
Commissioner French.
No.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
President Cogill.
Aye.
You have 5 ayes, 4 nays.
Thank you. That does not, we are not suspending the rules. We have a agenda that has been passed, and we'll move on to approval of the minutes. I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes.
Point of order, President Cogill, the agenda has not been approved yet.
Yes, there was.
The agenda was approved. That was the initial motion.
That was an emotion. Wasn't that a motion to approve the agenda with an amendment? Or I'm sorry, to amend the agenda. We didn't take a vote on the amended agenda.
My understanding was that it was a motion to amend the agenda and approve the agenda, but I would ask Parliamentarian Rice if that was his interpretation.
Mr. President, I think you have an amended agenda now, and so it would be in order to take a vote on the agenda as amended, adopting the agenda as amended.
All right, I'll ask for a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
So moved. Second.
I don't think you actually need that motion. You need to take a vote now.
Well, the motion is on the floor. We are voting on the amended agenda. I'll ask the secretary to take the roll once again.
Commissioner French.
No.
Commissioner Severson.
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner Bourne.
Aye.
Commissioner Hassan.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
President Cogill.
Aye.
You have 8 ayes, 1 nay.
Thank you. That carries. Now, hopefully, I am moving on to a motion to approve the minutes from Wednesday, December the 16th, 2020, and Monday, January 4th, 2021, and Wednesday, February the 17th, 2021.
So moved.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the approval of the minutes from those 3 meetings? I'm not seeing any discussion. I'll ask the secretary to take the roll.
Commissioner Bourne.
I'll abstain.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Commissioner French. Commissioner French. Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Commissioner French, I did hear your aye as well, so I will record that. Commissioner Severson.
I'll abstain as well.
Commissioner Hassan.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
President Cogill.
Aye.
You have 7 ayes, 2 abstain.
That carries. Now we'll move into the audit entrance meeting. We have 2 guests, or maybe 1 guest from the auditor's office, which we appreciate the time, and I'll turn it over to them to kick us off.
Good evening, President Cowgill and members of the Park Board. My name is Nicole Burnt. I am with the Office of the State Auditor. I am presenting tonight information that is part of our entrance meeting for the 2020 Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board audit, and to help further explain the scope of an audit. Pursuant to Minnesota laws, the Office of the State Auditor audits the City of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board. On February 4th, 2021, we met with management and a board representative of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board to go over the 2020 audit. Notes of this meeting were sent to all board members on February 9th, 2021, that included notes from our discussion regarding the audit and activity occurring during 2020. Additional information was brought to our attention after the notes to the meeting had been distributed. The notes to the meeting were subsequently updated and sent to you earlier this evening. Our main responsibility as external auditors is to audit the financial statements and the related notes to the financial statements. We are responsible for expressing an opinion on those financial statements, whether they are fairly presented in all material respects. As part of the financial statement audit, we consider an entity's internal controls over the financial reporting process in order to determine our audited procedures. We do not express an opinion on the effectiveness of those internal controls. As part of obtaining reasonable assurance about whether an entity's financial statements are free from material misstatement, we perform tests of the entity's compliance with certain provisions of laws, regulations, contracts, and grant agreements, non-compliance with which would have a direct and material effect on the determination of financial statement amounts. In connection with our audit, we test compliance with provisions of contracting and bidding, deposits and investments, conflicts of interest, public indebtedness, claims and disbursement, miscellaneous provisions, and tax increment financing as they relate to accounting matters. Our procedures are detailed in the Minnesota Legal Compliance Audit Guide for Cities, pursuant to Minnesota Statute 6.65. These procedures are also available on our website. Legal compliance testing, as I mentioned, includes testing for conflicts of interest. Information was brought to our attention during the 2019 audit related to legal compliance that applied to 2020. Since the activity was 2020 related, it was outside the scope of our 2019 audit and will be planned to be looked at during the 2020 audit when the information is provided to us. I have some additional background information as it relates to conflicts of interest. Minnesota Statute 471.87 states that a public officer who is authorized to take part in any manner in making any sale, lease, or contract in official capacity shall not voluntarily have a personal financial interest in that sale, lease, or contract, or personally benefit financially therefrom. Every public officer who violates this provision is guilty of a gross misdemeanor. This is the statute we will use to look at the information that is going to be provided to us. If an entity expended more than $750,000 in federal awards, we audit compliance with the types of compliance requirements described in the U.S. Office of Management and Budget's Compliance Supplement that could have a direct and material effect on each of the entity's major federal programs. We express an opinion on this compliance by stating whether or not an entity complied in all material respects with the types of applicable compliance requirements. In planning and performing our audit of compliance for major federal programs, we consider the entity's internal controls over compliance with the types of requirements that could have a direct and material effect on each major federal program. We do not express an opinion on the effectiveness of those internal controls over compliance. Going forward, concerns that are related to the financial statements or federal programs are encouraged to be brought to our attention, but any requests for additional procedures should come from the board president or management. At that time, it will be determined if it is covered under the scope of a financial statement or federal program audit, or if a separate engagement will need to be performed. Are there any questions? Thank you, President Cowgill and members of the Park Board for your time this evening.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm not seeing any questions from commissioners. Don't see any questions. I'll remind commissioners if they are trying to ask a question, they can use the raise hand feature, which is under reactions now. Looks like I do have a hand raised. Commissioner Bourne.
Thank you, President Cowgill. And thank you, President Cowgill, for adding this to the agenda and just this entrance meeting. And I would encourage Commissioners, if there is anything related to the 2020 financials that we would like folks to look at, now is the time to bring it up. We do have. I had responded to some of the notes from the audit entrance meeting. We've had different practices in the past on our entrance meeting and on who from the board attends. So we haven't had a consistent practice. It is discouraging, and I would just encourage the leadership at the highest level of the board to attend these entrance meetings. There's no set rule on it, but I think it helps our audit process go better and go smoother, and we just haven't had that leadership at the highest level at those entrance meetings in the last couple of years. So I would just encourage that. But there are also questions related to the audit that I'm not sure at what point, because it's not necessarily an operating procedure, but there is a question in the entrance audit is, have there been any violations of law by the governing unit? And at the entrance meeting, our board representative and management had stated no, but just a few months prior, our chair of our admin and finance committee had said that she had called a meeting in violation, at least one meeting in violation of Minnesota open meeting law. Those minutes have still not been made public. The meeting was in context of our budget and our financial policies, and it's in a committee where that work happens. So I think if those minutes could be made available from that illegally called meeting, it might make a lot of these questions go away. But it'll just be interesting to see I'm not sure if the audit is the right place to look at that, but we do have a responsibility to govern in a legal and transparent way. And so I just wanted to make sure that if the audit is the right place to be looking at this, that the fiduciary concerns that this board have be brought forward to our auditors. So those are just my comments, not any question. I do want to thank our auditors for, we worked with the same team for a number of years, and they're pretty professional, and I've always been working with them. So I'm looking forward to this process. Thank you, President Kogel.
Thank you, Commissioner. I am not seeing any other hands raised on this subject. Thank you again, Nicole, for your time. It's greatly appreciated, and we will do our utmost to ensure that we're working closely to be compliant in every way. I appreciate the time and look forward to any next steps.
Thank you, and I appreciate the adjustment to the agenda today as well.
Certainly. Happy to have you. Moving on, the superintendent is clearly very excited to talk about ice arenas because that is already up, and so I will turn it over to Superintendent Bangora to kick us off with his update, and then noting that we will have to stop for open time here in about 5 minutes.
Thank you, President Kogel and Commissioners. It's good to see everybody. We'll begin with, of course, ice arenas, but a shift in ice arenas. Turf install preparations have begun for the Northeast Ice Arena. Turf season kicks off on March 24th. All LED lights and fixtures have been installed above the Northeast rink, and one customer has stated, it looks like a whole new rink, and you can see my picture, it's pretty amazing. So again, our nimbleness of switching from ice to turf coming up, and very excited about the new season, and those lights look fantastic. So thank you for all the work around that. Aquatics is very happy to announce 2 additional members to its team. Submersible mannequins. These mannequins allow participants in the American Red Cross lifeguard course to have contact-free passive victim rescue. COVID has really impacted the world of becoming and maintaining a lifeguard certification. These yet to be named new members of the team really enhance our program. Participants can feel more comfortable being deliberate and efficient with rescues without the nagging fear of proximity to their victim. Aquatics is hosting lifeguard courses once or twice per month to bolster recruitment and to certify lifeguards and prepare for the warm summer ahead. So I look forward to seeing what the name will be for our lifeguards, our new lifeguards. Adult athletics. Spring summer sports registration for adults leagues began on February 16th. We currently have over 400 teams registered in the following sports leagues: basketball, softball, kickball, sand volleyball, indoor soccer, tennis, and indoor broomball. Summer outdoor soccer registrations will open on March 21st. Also, athletics is working on offering a new grass volleyball league this summer at Fuller Park starting on June 12th. We also completed a very successful adult broomball season. A total of 141 teams participated in 20 different leagues across the city. Thanks to exceptional work from our maintenance staff and broomball officials, we were able to complete nearly 500 games without any cancellations. Absolutely amazing. So thank you to everyone for a great broomball season. Believe it or not, golf. Golf kicked off the 2021 season on February 27th. It always cracks me up to see this. I love it. It's Minnesota. With our annual league registration, season pass, and players club card sales. Golf is already at 35% ahead of last year's pace on preseason sales. With the upcoming forecast, we are projecting that golf courses could open 3 to 4 weeks ahead of 2020. And I saw Director Humphrey today, and I could see him smiling through his mask, so I know he's happy. Keep it coming, Larry. Youth sports. The 2021 MPRB youth hockey season went very well. Temperatures cooperated and outdoor ice conditions were perfect through mid-February. We were very lucky to be able to utilize Parade and Northeast ice arenas when warmer weather took over. I'd like to give really a special thank you to everyone involved for making this season a success. I got about 2 minutes, I think, here. Winter Fun on the Run. Winter Fun on the Run started Monday, February 1st at 7 sites citywide. Our program offered sports including snow, soccer, sledding, kick sledding, wiffle ball, and more. We had a wonderful turnout of participants each week. Thank you to all sites and program leaders for running this fun outdoor adventure. Week 1, we had over 80 kids participate. Week 2 and 3 were extremely cold weeks. We still had 28 and 15 kids brave the temperatures. Week 4, we had 56 kids participating. And that just shows, again, the example of how we adjust and are nimble in our programs, and extremely proud of Winter Fun on the Run. And thank you for all the youth and people that participated and led the program. President Kogel, I know it's 5:30 now. Should I stop? Okay.
That works. Thank you very much, Superintendent. We will move here into open time. Just a reminder to the public, this is our opportunity as commissioners to hear from you. There is the opportunity for anybody to call in or write in their comments during this COVID period. And I will start with the call-in commenters today. We have a total of looks like 16 call-in commenters, and then an additional 20 write-in comments. I will allocate a minute for each speaker, and I'll say you can speak on any topic you wish. We just ask that you refrain from using any harassing or discriminatory language, and also refrain from discussing any pending personnel matters. With that, I'll ask if the first speaker is on the line. Do we have Josh?
We do not have Josh on the line.
All right. Going on down, do we have Michelle?
We do have Michelle on the line.
Great. Michelle, if you are there, if you could unmute yourself and turn off the live stream behind you. We welcome to state your name, if you're comfortable, your address for the record, and you have 1 minute to address the board.
Oh, am I going first?
Yes, you are up.
Hi, I'm Michelle Shaw. I'm at Pierce Street in Minneapolis, in Northeast. Thank you, commissioners. 1 in 9 Minnesotans are hungry today. Our native Latinx and Asian families are twice as likely to experience hunger than our white families, and our black families are 4 times as likely. Food insecurity in Minneapolis, especially in our 2 green zones, is one of the main things driving Edible Boulevards, a Minneapolis city pilot that was started last year to focus on teaching people how to build their own boulevard gardens, to provide them with the resources to safely grow food, and to partner with and compensate urban agriculture groups that are led by or co-led by people of color. Adding a fruit or nut tree to the other side of participants' boulevards was an idea that evolved from that initiative in the East Phillips and Jordan neighborhoods. Please read all of the submitted public comments. We know there are a lot of who, what, how, what if kinds of questions. And you have a full team of excited community members and professional experts who want to be at the table to problem solve so that we can meet the needs of our community together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Our next speaker is Jean. Is Jean on the line?
I do not have Jean on the line.
All right, I'll go back one more time to Josh. Is Josh on the line?
We still do not have Josh on the line.
All right, I'll move forward to Michael.
I do have Michael on the line.
Fantastic. Michael, if you're there, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 1 minute to address the board.
Hello, testing.
Hello, Michael. You can go ahead. You have 1 minute to address the board.
Okay. Good day, everyone. My name is Michael Cheney. I am the executive director, founder of Project Sweetie Pie. Many of you have probably known for the last 10 years we have been growing the green movement in North Minneapolis and have kind of become the Johnny Appleseed of urban farming. And I am here today with one of my partners, Michelle Shaw. We are creating North Minneapolis' first food forest at 2210 Emerson. The garden is called the Celestial Garden, a gathering place for God's grace. And the initiative is called Shared Food: Urban Policy, Urban Planning, Urban Forestry, Urban Farming, Urban by Design. And so we are using it as kind of a showroom, a destination for the community, and bringing members of the community together to kind of co-create, co-design the project. And one of the projects that we're doing is doing some curbside gardening, and so working with Spark Y and Tiny Fields and a number of organizations. We're here to really promote and try to move regulation, again, to demonstrate all different methodologies of growing technologies. And arboretum gardening, growing of fruit trees, is one of the things that we are advocating for and trying to advance through the city of Minneapolis to move Minneapolis to the point where St. Paul is, where people can actually plant, we hope to plant hickory nuts. We've already planted on the site. The property is owned by the Sustainable Resource Center, and so we are it's going to be a permanent site and bringing a lot of different organizations together to be kind of a green showroom, if you will. And so here again to urge you to advance if we are going to become a leader in the country around urban farming and sustainable environmental justice. We think that it's an important next step that we move some of this regulations that have been really hardship on people in the community. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Michael. Mm-hmm. Our next speaker is Craig. Is Craig on the line?
We do have Craig on the line.
Great. Craig, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 1 minute to address the board.
Hello?
Hello, Craig. You can go ahead. You have 1 minute to address the board.
Hi, everybody. I'm Craig Nichols. I live on the 4400 block of 16th Avenue. I'm here tonight because of a kind family who let me work off the value of a $100 season pass at a golf course in my hometown. Ingrained in me, without me knowing it, was the integrity golf taught, plus the value of hard work during hot summer days outside. As an at-risk youth, I learned the value of recreation and what it can do for a kid surrounded by despair. That is the reason I have been to every one of the Hiawatha meetings, why I served on the CAC, and why I have spent hundreds of hours talking to my neighbors about saving this valuable community resource, which I will continue to do. I want kids in South Minneapolis to have access to the things I did without having to come from money or need to have someone drive them to the suburbs. As I said 2 weeks ago, the history of this golf course is enormous. Let us tonight cement the future by supporting youth in Minneapolis. Rather than destroying Hiawatha, we should be finding ways to increase participation in youth golf at Hiawatha by making green fees free for all Minneapolis kids and working with community leaders to supply equipment. The future is bright. Let us lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Our next speaker is Sean. Do we have Sean on the line?
We do have Sean on, excuse me 1 second. Yes, we do have Sean on the line.
Great. Sean, if you're there, you could if you could mute the live stream, and you have 1 minute to address the board.
Kids and working with community leaders to supply equipment. The future is bright. Let us lead. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Our next speaker is Sean. Sean, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Great. If you can go ahead, you have 1 minute to address the board.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You can go ahead. You have one minute. Go ahead.
Okay. First, I want to make a shout out to my fellow CAC members and all the Friends of Lake Hiawatha. It's been a long haul, and I guess it sounds like we got a little bit longer to go here. And so I hear a lot of talk about future generations and our legacy here. Yet there seems not to be a sense of urgency. The park board has ignored the problem for decades of trash. And 6 years ago, we asked the park board for stormwater treatment. And since that time, we removed 8,000 pounds of plastic and styrofoam from the shores of Lake Hiawatha. And now the park board is saying that it may take up to 7 years more, and that's unacceptable. In 7 years, we can expect 5 more tons of plastic and styrofoam trash to enter Lake Hiawatha. And so here we are, where the interests of golfers are being pitted against the needs of the environment, as if the only option is one or the other. That is a false binary. It can be both and. It just is going to require a little creativity and compromise from everybody. If you're interested in preserving Hiawatha Golf Course for future generations, consider that it will need to adapt and become resilient to the changing climate like everything else, especially since it resides within the floodplain and is built on top of a former wetland. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Penn. Do we have Penn on the line?
We do have Penn on the line.
Great. Penn, if you are there, you can unmute yourself, and you have 1 minute to address the board.
Okay. I am muted.
Great.
Hi. Ready? Okay. This is Penny Fuller. I'm from the Hiawatha neighborhood, and I'm calling in support of the master plan. Even a plan less than perfect is to me better than one of inaction. Each day, month, and year that continues brings endless pollution to our lake in the form of trash and chemicals. Some pretty nasty things that I've witnessed personally. You have the power to solve this and make changes, as you know. You have the power to make this park and lake a welcoming and safe place for all, from humans to birds to frogs and so on. You have this opportunity to move forward with choices to support racial equality along with land and water stewardship, not just an opportunity, an obligation. Please, please do your very best, each of you, to come together and make this work. Yes, I expect the exact details and financials will need further adjustments, but this plan will help to create a legacy for future generations rather than continuing this unsustainable status quo. Please vote in favor of the master plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Penny. Our next speaker is Kyle. Is Kyle on the line?
We do have Kyle on the line.
Great. Kyle, if you're able to unmute yourself, and you have
Hi.
1 minute to address the board.
Please do your very best, each of you. Hi, my name is Kyle Samajima, and I live at 43rd Street and 13th Avenue South. And I urge you, when this does come for a vote, to vote yes for this plan. Ecological health is intimately connected to everybody on this call, and yet impacts of ecological harm are not equal. And a healthy ecosystem at Lake Hiawatha helps everyone. And again, the leadership of the NPRB requires understanding the intersection of climate change and systemic racism and decisions of the past that centered white supremacy over non-white humans and nature with devastating consequences. And these decisions are with us today, requiring everyone to make difficult decisions and weigh very difficult things. And the past and current opportunities for Black residents to have access to golf and the benefits of the sport are valuable and should be protected. The climate impacts, however, that consistently disproportionately cause communities of color and communities with low incomes harm have reared their ugly head and require bold, equitable decisions. With this plan, we create resilience for the whole area around Lake Hiawatha to prevent or minimize the flooding and drought that are coming that will affect the golf course. And no one can play on a flooded or drought-stricken golf course. Ensuring the whole Lake Hiawatha ecosystem, including the golf course, is healthy, viable, and resilient to flooding, drought, and climate impacts is key, and there are ways that that can happen with this plan. So I urge you to vote yes when it comes up for a vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Our next speaker is John. Do we have John on the line?
We do have John on the line.
Great. John, if you would like to unmute yourself, and you have 1 minute to address the board.
Ensuring the whole Lake Hiawatha ecosystem, including the golf course, is healthy, viable.
Hello?
Hi, John. You have 1 minute to address the board. If you could turn off the live stream or mute the live stream. Hear it.
Okay. Am I live?
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, my name is John Sherman. I live at 18th Avenue near Lake Hiawatha, and I just want to, first of all, say thank you to the commissioners for their public service, and just note that the decision relative to Lake Hiawatha is truly a legacy decision. The lake and the ecosystem are polluted both chemically and physically. As others have noted, there's thousands of pounds of trash that flow into the lake every year. And, this is a function of bad decisions that were made previously. And so at this point, the question is, will you vote to perpetuate those problems or clean up the lake and restore some of the natural habitat and create greater access for the broader community to this resource? I think the master plan is expensive, and I think it makes compromises, but it solves great problems. So I hope you'll support it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Our next speaker is Roxanne. Do we have Roxanne on the line?
We do.
Great. Roxanne, if you're there, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and you have 1 minute to address the board.
Hello?
Hello, Roxanne. You are live. You're able to speak for 1 minute. You can go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Hi, I'm Roxanne Stewart. I live at 4055 25th Avenue South in Minneapolis.
I am calling in tonight to urge you to support the Hiawatha Master Plan because I believe the plan's creation and its future realization has the potential to respond and possibly resolve environmental, social, and socioeconomic issues relative to the current unsafe and often inaccessible land and water resources. A future vote represents a response to countless community, CAC, and focus group meetings, countless hours of planning and design work, a response to Lake Hiawatha and its surrounding land uses, which are frequently compromised by trash and various pollutants, as well as flooding in wet years. And it's also a response to ongoing changes and challenges within the natural environment. All of those things deserve consideration. And I believe that this master plan could signal the beginning of long overdue infrastructure repairs within the Hiawatha site. I also believe we need to make strong consideration for the Black and Indigenous communities of our larger community by offering real socioeconomic possibilities at Hiawatha for these groups as we work to heal the land and the water resources as well. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Roxanne. Our next speaker is Leslie. Do we have Leslie on the line?
We do.
Great. Leslie, if you are there, you are able to start your comments. You have 1 minute to address the board.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I've looked over some of your proposals and the work that you've done in Minneapolis. I have concerns about some of it. I don't know how and who inspects the park boards for maintaining the upkeep that's going on. There's a lot of erosion. The employees ride up and down, causing soil compaction within the parks, and that's horrible. If the parks are maintained horribly, and I want to know what your plans are to repair the damage before you start putting work into improvements into things. And I want to know, are you going to plan on cleaning this up, and how many inspectors do you have since you're your own entity? I looked up to the park boards growing up across the street from Bassett Creek. That was my playground. Over there off of Highway 55, I witnessed people trying to drench out the area, and it was to fail. So there's a lot of soil erosion. You guys aren't maintaining it. There's no buffers up, even though we have buffer laws, and yet you guys claim to be exempt, but then you're still a part of the problem and you haven't found a solution. And I want to know what solutions that you are looking for to making forward and progress in improving our city. I grew up here, and this is the reason why, the parks are the reason why I went to the U to study environmental science, policy, and management, growing up playing along Bassett Creek and the ways, and loving and learning how to swim and taking the bike routes through everything. And now everything is just, I can walk literally across Bassett Creek over there, 55 on some days, because of the soil erosion over there. There's no control, and people just lack it, and the employees don't even care of the beauty that we have and the fondness of what we have in Minnesota. And for you people to appoint yourselves and advocate what you do, you're failing. You're failing the citizens. You're failing the people that love the nature and everything, and yourselves, because we all live here together. And I just want to know what solutions you're looking at. You don't even have a thing in your plans anywhere for soil erosion. I see stormwater, but you don't have erosion control or soil management, any of the plans. And that's what the park is made of, soil, besides the water. And so you're destroying it, and I know I'm running out of time, and I probably sound repeating myself, but it's a big concern to me. And until you people and this board governs your employees and educate them about the importance of their job and respect it, I came over to the way they maintain it and everything else. It's a danger. I know we have homeless problems in there sometimes, but just to maintain, it's just horrible. It's horrible. And you guys need to take a trip. Thank you very much for your time, and hopefully you find a solution to this problem. Bye.
Thank you, Leslie. Our next speaker is Ann. Do we have Ann on the line?
We do.
Ann, if you're there, you have 1 minute to address the board.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You can go ahead.
Okay,
You have 1 minute.
Thank you. Ann Laughlin on behalf of a coalition of local bird and wildlife conservation groups. The Hiawatha Golf Course property lies within the Mississippi Flyway, which is a major migratory bird corridor used by millions of birds twice a year. The master plan must be strengthened to protect and enhance essential habitat for migratory and resident birds and other wildlife, especially now when habitat loss is the single greatest threat to the survival of many species. When the board does eventually address the plan, we ask you to approve it with these 5 changes. First, approve Amendment 014 to expand natural restoration areas, since this site is so important to birds and wildlife. Second, move the foot trails away from the western shore to protect the otters and away from the southernmost portion of the shore to protect the great horned owls. Third, remove the multi-use paved trail through the island, since traffic would disrupt wildlife, reduce habitat, and diminish the experience as an island respite. Fourth, approve the stormwater management component of the plan without delay to address pollution problems. And finally, 5, please support the Amendment 603 to hire staff to remove trash from the lake until you construct a solution. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ann. Our next speaker is Melissa. Do we have Melissa on the line?
Yes, we do.
Great. Melissa, you have 1 minute to address the board. You may go ahead. Melissa, are you there? Doesn't appear like we have Melissa.
She's in the room and she is unmuted, but
try one more time. Melissa, are you online?
Oh, I am unmuted.
Oh, all right. Melissa, you have 1 minute to address the board. You can go ahead. Hello? Melissa, we cannot hear you. We're going to have to go to the next speaker. Do we have Nicholas on the line?
We do.
Great. Nicholas, can you hear us?
Yes.
Great. Nicholas, you have 1 minute to address the board. You can go ahead.
All right. Hello, I'm Nick Spano, and I'm a recent PhD graduate from the University of California, Berkeley Department of Integrative Biology, but originally from and currently living in Woodbury, calling about the health and environmental benefits of curbside or boulevard fruit trees. These fruit trees address many of the board's defined goals and values. Picking from sidewalk trees is a great way to get outside and engage in physical activity while learning about and enjoying healthy, delicious food. Many fruit trees, such as plum and Juneberries, have fruit that is easily recognizable with no poisonous lookalikes within arm's reach to many, and these trees are already native to Minnesota. 40% of all U.S. produced food goes to landfills, and food production alone makes up a quarter of humanity's greenhouse gas emissions. As noted before, fruit trees could be systematically planted in federally designated Minneapolis food deserts, including the near North and Camden neighborhoods. And for cases of overharvesting, those are rare and usually perpetuated by commercial collectors. With that, I'm happy to share my references upon request and address any constructive questions or rebuttals if there's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. Our next speaker is Ryan. Do we have Ryan on the line?
We do have Ryan.
All right, Ryan, can you hear me?
Yeah, hello.
Great. Hello, Ryan. You have 1 minute to address the board. You can go ahead.
Okay, great. Hello, my name is Ryan Siebold. I live in Erickson neighborhood. I'm asking you commissioners to vote for this plan for the Hiawatha Golf Course, reducing the golf course to 9 holes and preserving nature around the lake. This plan will balance nature and preservation of nature with golf. I also ask you to expand nature as much as possible. And then secondly, I want you guys to prioritize the remediation of trash. It's a terrible situation at the lake. So many thousands of pounds of garbage and trash and pollution flowing freely into the lake. We can work on this and fix it. Also push as much restoration of the wetland ecosystem as possible. And finally, whenever we can, add food forest into the plan and around the lake. That would help benefit people and wildlife. So plant native trees and plants that are edible wherever can. The neighborhood would support this immensely. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ryan. And our last speaker is Sean. Do we have Sean on the line?
Yes, we do.
All right, Sean, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Sean, you can go ahead. You have 1 minute to address the board.
Okay. Well, this is Sean Brzezinski. I'm a volunteer with the Friends of Lake Hiawatha. I live at 3132 22nd Avenue South in Minneapolis. And I wanted to address some of the concerns of Commissioner Brad Bourne about how to make sure that the Park Board can be financially responsible in adopting the master plan that would have a $40 million price tag. The Friends of Lake Hiawatha is very committed to working to get letters of commitment and support from the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District for when they would be putting into their capital budget the timing and amount for mitigating the North Pipe to prevent trash from going in the lake, as well as the City of Minneapolis Public Works getting it on their calendar for their long-term capital investment in the amount and date, as well as we want to work with our Minneapolis delegation for the legislature to get funding from LCCMR, as well as from the Met Council's Recreation and Trails dollars. It's currently, the Hiawatha plan is in the LCCMR House bill right now. So if this plan can move forward in the next couple of weeks, we have a good chance of getting the first installment of money from the state LCCMR bill, which is now in committee. So we're very excited about mitigating the North Pipe, expanding habitat, and welcoming many new recreational users, including golfers, Nordic skiers, walkers, bikers, kayakers, and people who love to watch birds and animals. And so we appreciate you guys taking this opportunity to make a 100-year change for a new future for this whole area. Thanks again.
Thank you for your comment, Sean. I'm going to return to one of our earlier speakers who is on the line. Do we have Jean?
We do have Jean on the line.
Great. Jean, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hello, Jean. You are online and you can, you have 1 minute to address the board. You can go ahead.
Okay. Thank you for so much to the board for allowing me this opportunity. I want to address many of the environmental benefits of fruit and nut trees. Reduce transportation costs. Obviously, you'll have fewer costs with distributing locally grown fruits, and so that will lead to lower carbon emissions. Reduce CO2 emissions. Fruit-bearing trees help offset the effects of CO2 pollution. 1 acre of mature fruit trees will absorb as much CO2 as would be produced by driving 26,000 miles on, I guess, one vehicle. Reduce energy costs, such as electricity and water. Fruit trees can provide shade, reducing the need to cool on hot days. the shade-loving trees that are incorporated into landscaping allows less absorption of evaporation on sunny days. Stormwater management, fruit trees have deep roots, especially hazelnut and elderberry bushes, and so less dirt and pollution running off into our streams, rivers, and lakes.
Thank
and
you,
more
Gene.
green top. Some have concerns about how messy fruit trees are, and I suggest we would create a pilot program to employ youth to care for and harvest fruits and nuts that would be a solution and provide job opportunities.
Thank you for your comments. That concludes our commenters for open time this evening. The written comments will be logged in the meeting record by the secretary, and we will move on, returning to the superintendent's report. So I'll turn it back over to Superintendent Bangura.
Thank you, President Cogill and commissioners. I will move through this as quickly as I can, so thank you for giving me the time back. So let's begin where we left off. We will now talk about recreation centers and programs. Luxton Park. Youth are being taught the skills of photography and are analyzing their printed photos with the instructor during the Junior Luxton Photography Program. And if you see the picture there, you can see them working on their project. Creekview. Parents are extremely thankful to have the space to let their young ones burn off energy, especially during the winter months, at the Creekview Indoor Playground. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Stewart Park. Stewart Park DIY class staff instructed neighborhood kids on how to make birdhouses and started putting together some planting boxes to incorporate urban farming once spring comes. At Martin Luther King Jr. Park, Adult Ceramics is glad to be back, picking up right where they left off, creating masterpieces and catching up with friends. The program runs Wednesdays from 10 to noon. Nokomis Park, preschool kids have been learning, playing, and making friends at Nokomis Park. Powderhorn. Classes are underway at the new creation space at Powderhorn. Students below are working on how to record, mix, and master music. And if you have a chance to go down there and see the new creation space that's been remodeled, it's pretty exciting, and they're doing great work. And as we know, we have several coming online throughout our park system, so this is really exciting to see the work, and they're doing great things down there. Full service community schools. NPRB provided outerwear accessories wear to students at Bethune Community School as they return to school over the past month. Bethune Community School and Phyllis Wheatley Community Center will host 2 movies in the park this summer to help engage the community and bring attention to Bethune as an arts magnet school. Renovations at Bethune are on the horizon, which will include a new family resource center. Really exciting news. Forestry. The Forestry Department crews are removing hazardous trees from Eloise Butler Wildflower Garden that are near the boardwalk. Most of the trees are ash that are infested with emerald ash borer. This is an ideal time for the work because a layer of snow is needed for on-site burning of the resulting debris. Burning prevents damage that would occur to the surrounding vegetation if it were moved outside the garden. And again, it's just a great work that our Forest Department does every day, and we're grateful for their work. And it's great to see them out there in this picture, so thank you for all their work. Environmental management. Winter lake sampling, another great thing that we do within our services. NPR staff have finished winter lake sampling for the 2021 winter season. Each NPRB lake is sampled one time during the winter. Specialized equipment is used to sample water from different depths beneath the ice, and a probe is used to take measurements every meter within the water column. Winter sampling of Minneapolis lakes has been conducted for more than 20 years and provides important information for understanding seasonal water quality trends. And again, thank you for their work. It's just the many things that we do in our park system keep it healthy. Asset management, maintenance and operations. A big congratulations goes out to Sibley Park Ice Rink team, who have been declared the 2021 Golden Boot winner. The Golden Boot is an award given yearly to the overall winning team demonstrating success in the area of, this is very serious stuff here, runway, railing condition, rink boards, condition of goals, ice quality, and overall impression. This year's winning team include Tina Austin, Alex Washington, Mark Harvey, Marcos Luna, Paul Halvas, Jeff Finley, and Chris Lambert. And a reminder that all Minneapolis ice rinks will close by the end of the month. The warmer weather is creating unsafe conditions, and NPRB staff will stop maintaining all rinks. Staff will then start dismantling rinks in preparation for spring athletics or activities. So again, I'd like to say congratulations to Sibley and all of our team out there that did outstanding work this year in our ice rinks. And if you just look at this picture, you can just tell the care that we do when we put into our rinks within Minneapolis. And I couldn't be more proud. And congratulations to everyone, and in particular the Sibley team, on this serious competition that they do and the pride they take in our ice rinks. And so very, very proud, and congratulations. It's awesome. Equipment shop. NPRB's Forestry Department accepted delivery of a new 60-foot reach bucket truck from Alltech Industries. So cool. This is the first of 7 that will be replaced in 2021. Forestry staff from the NPRB's North Division were trained on using the new truck prior to its deployment. This new bucket truck is replacing the 11-year-old truck in NPRB's Forestry Department fleet. This bucket truck is used for daily tree maintenance with Minneapolis parks and along the boulevards. So really exciting. Look forward to seeing all of them out there and working every day. And again, it's our commitment to our amazing park system and the quality of work we do, and to give the best equipment for our staff to do the work every day in our tree canopy. So really excited to see that. Very proud of that. Planning, waterworks. The superintendent myself toured the near complete waterworks complex recently, and can state with confirmation that the building is close to being ready for staff use, with substantial completion just about wrapped up. NPRB Community Service and other staff are taking a larger role as this building transitions from a construction project into a building within the system. There are still plenty of improvements being finalized during the spring, but main systems are up and running. The sous chef is working on kitchen installation and its opening plans. We're all hoping COVID allows for a smooth, grand opening, and very, very exciting to see this project moving forward. And Kate has done just a phenomenal job in our planning department around this. But in particular, I'd just like to say thank you to our planning team and the wonderful work they're doing there. Very excited to see it open. Northeast Athletic Field Park improvements. The Planning Division is pleased to announce an improvement projects at Northeast Athletic Field Park, with construction anticipated for fall 2021. The project will construct the following: new playground adjacent to the Northeast Recreation Center, southwest corner, and 2 new softball fields west of Fillmore Street. Community members were invited to take the online survey to share preferences for playground improvements. So very excited about that, and again, the wonderful work our planning department does along with our community. Kenny Park Improvement Project. The Planning Division is pleased to announce the improvement project for Kenny Park in southwest Minneapolis. The project will embrace or enhance the playground equipment and look to update areas directly adjacent to the playground. Construction is anticipated for late summer, early 2021. Community members were invited to take online surveys to share preferences for playground improvements. Another great project in the work that we do, improving our capital and our playgrounds. This is really exciting. Cedar Isles Master Plan. Join the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board and Lowry Hill East Neighborhood Association, the LHENA, on March 9th at 6:30 for a virtual boot tour to help raise awareness, boat tour to help raise awareness and collect feedback on the Cedar Lake and the Isles Master Plan. The Cedar Lake, Lake of the Isles Master Plan, Cedar Lake Isles, or Cedar Isles Master Plan, will guide improvements and stewardship at Cedar Lake, Lake of the Isles, and surrounding parkland, parkways, and trails for the next 20-plus years. Community feedback is being collected now to shape an upcoming draft plan. So join NPRB staff for this virtual tour and tell us what you love, what you want to see, or concerns you may have about the two lakes and surrounding parkland. Visit the project page under the Park Care and Improvements Master Plans to the link to this virtual tour. We welcome all interested parties. And with that, President Gold, I'm going to turn this over to both Adam Larson and also Heidi Pope.
All right. Can you hear me? I'm just kidding. Good evening, Commissioners, President Kogel. So we wanted to give you a short presentation on the Comcast Lift Zone project that we kicked off earlier this month. And if you advance the slide, I believe there's a video here.
Oh, you think this is just a community center? No, it's way more than that. Because when you hook our community up with the internet, boom, look at Ariana crushing virtual class. Jamal chasing that college dream. Michael doing something crazy. This is the place where we can show the world what we can do.
Comcast is partnering with 1,000 community centers to create Wi-Fi-enabled lift zones so students from low-income families can get the tools they need to be ready for anything.
Oh, we're ready.
So when Comcast announced this, our former secretary to the board, Pamela French, actually reached out to Al and I and said, "Did you hear about this?" And we jumped on it really quick and worked with Comcast to get on their list, and we've started doing walkthroughs to the various sites. We actually were able to submit almost all of our locations to them. I'll let Heidi talk more about the actual sites that are going on. But what this will provide us is free, very high-speed internet to most of our locations for the purposes of getting our kids connected to schools, connected to learning, and not just kids, adults as well. The program itself is completely free to the park board. They do all the installation, they're doing the wiring, they're doing the connections. As Comcast is one of our primary network vendors, it's really easy for them to come in and do this because the existing circuit is already there and they're just bringing another one in. So, next slide. So what we've done so far is we've walked through several sites with them to kind of verify that these are the rooms where we want this connectivity to be, and here's the areas we want covered. And they look through the different sites, look at the wiring, make sure that they can do it. And that process has been taking about half hour to an hour at each site. Following that, we've completed installations at 8 sites so far with the potential to roll out to more than 50 locations. Oh, next slide. And I think this is where I hand it over to Heidi.
Sure. Good evening, President Colville and Commissioners. We were really excited to work with Comcast. There's absolutely no cost for us. It costs them a little less than $7,000 per site each year to provide this extra wiring for us. And they will do it for a 3-year agreement, which starts once the network is installed. We talked to them specifically about whether, in addition to youth, can we offer, instead of just youth programs, job searches and other programs and family programs, and they said yes, that was not a problem, even though their advertising is toward youth. We are able to do programming for all the different age groups. They don't have any requirements in terms of hours or how many people we need to have come into our rec centers or other facilities. They will not be keeping any data on that. For us, it is important to, of course, evaluate the youth
the use of it and to collect data so we can see who used it in what area and how well it worked for them. And then at the end of the 3 years, we can, the board can determine do they want to continue at any of the sites and just how impactful it was on the youth and their families. They were not able to tell us the cost after 3 years or whether or not they would continue it. They said right now they are just offering the 3 years and then they will see after that. We were really excited about learning. They don't have any expectations about signage or promoting it. Of course, we will send them a thank you letter for including us in this project. We are very excited to get started with our staff, and we have worked on standards to basically outline guidelines for making use of the additional wiring. I think that's the last slide, so if you have questions, we are open to that.
We do have one more presentation, so maybe we can ask questions afterwards. Is that okay, President Cogill? We just have Chief Ojado with a...
Sure.
That sound good? Okay.
Yeah, I think folks will have questions, but we can do both of these here in one fell swoop.
Sure, whatever your preference is. Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
President Cogill and Commissioners, at the last board meeting, I was asked to provide a little bit of an update around preparations pertaining to the trial of Derek Chauvin, the former Minneapolis police officer charged in the death of George Floyd. So I will aim to provide that brief presentation. Please know that much of this planning is fluid and things change, day to day, week to week. Opening arguments for the trial are not slated to begin before March 29th. So we've heard a lot in the media about the trial beginning on Monday. Monday will begin the process of jury selection, but opening arguments again will not begin until March 29th. Although exact timing is unknowable, the trial is expected to last 2 to 4 weeks, and jury deliberations could take additional days to weeks after the trial has concluded. Superintendent Bangora will serve with other leadership from the City of Minneapolis in the policy group supporting the Emergency Operations Center. In addition, the Park Board has 3 department representatives that will serve at the virtual EOC to make sure that we are linked in to everything that's happening pertaining to emergency management across the city enterprise. In addition to that, there are MPRB staff who are trained and identified that may assist the City of Minneapolis with damage assessment should the need arise. This is something that we do in collaboration with the Office of Emergency Management in all disaster or unrest situations. Most of this training and protocol was developed really in response to storm damage. So the ability for our staff to work with city staff, Public Works, and OEM to make sure that we can have a real-time snapshot of what the damage is across the city in a storm event. But that training is also valuable in assessing other sorts of damage. Park police officers will assist the City of Minneapolis with answering 911 calls during the activation of Operation Safety Net, and that's in accordance with the Hennepin County Mutual Aid Pact. Finally, MPRB staff across the organization are currently conducting preparedness planning, and recommendations will go to the executive team. I actually forwarded those on to the executive team this afternoon. And then finally, the MPRB should expect demonstrations to be held in parks throughout the trial and the aftermath of the trial. Parks are a natural gathering place for people to assemble, and clearly there's no place in our city in which the right to assemble is more protected than in our green space. So that is the conclusion of my prepared remarks, and I'll turn it back to Superintendent Bangora.
Yeah, thank you, and President Cogill, Commissioners, that is the end of our presentations, and we are available for questions.
Thank you, Superintendent. We have a few folks with questions. I had a couple of questions that I wanted to start on this trial preparation piece. Really two points. The first is around the demonstration spaces. I'm sure that many parks will be used, but I think that it's very logical and probably thoughtful of us to prepare for a lot of folks coming to the Commons Park, which is very close to where the trial is going to be held. It's the closest park, I guess, aside from the Gateway Park. And I think it would behoove us, I don't know what the discussions have been, I'll have the meeting tomorrow afternoon and I'll bring this up again as well on emergency management, but I wonder if we couldn't provide some porta potties, hand washing stations for folks at that site, as there won't be any indoor locations for all the people that are out there. So I was wondering if that's a consideration or has been in the past. I think that the park board is really well positioned to be more of a positive force for how cities and municipalities and government agencies are reacting to this preparation. And if we could provide that service, also if we could, I don't know if there's a possibility to provide even programming for folks if we worked with community to do that. Just both things that I think we should consider going forward. But just wondering if any discussion about any specific sites has come up or comments come up in the planning that's gone on so far.
President Cogill, yes. I mean, what we're doing is surveying parks, especially downtown adjacent to the Government Center and Government Center Plaza, and then as well the area around 38th in Chicago. We know both of those areas will have demonstrations, assemblies, protests. And so we are evaluating park space around those locations right now. I don't think any decision has been made, certainly not by me, pertaining to whatever infrastructure we would place in parks adjacent to those natural spots for gathering. I guess I would defer to the superintendent on that.
Thank you, Chief. President Cogill, yeah, we will, as staff, we will definitely take a look at your recommendations and what you're suggesting around BIFs and programming in particular, as you suggest, around Commons Park. So we'll take that back to the team and we'll see what we can do and take your suggestion forward, because I do understand what role we can play within this time. And so I've written it down here. It's the top of my notes, and so we'll make sure we address that, and we'll get back to you immediately and to the board with what we can do.
Thank you, Superintendent. Yeah, I think it would be great, depending on what's possible. But I appreciate that. The other question that I have is around the Emergency Operations Center and what exactly the hierarchy of decision making is. I'm certain that the park board isn't a decision maker, but I don't quite understand what the policy group is and whether or not they have decision making authority. And then if they don't have the decision making authority, then who does have that decision making authority around how decisions are made as various things occur during the trial.
So, President Cogill, I'm aware that board leadership, both you and Vice President Vita, have the opportunity to meet with Director Barrett Lane from OEM tomorrow. I think he's probably best suited to answer that question. Clearly, to the extent that park board staff are involved in anything, the superintendent directs park board staff. And so it will be critical for him to have situational awareness and operational understanding in real time about what's happening across the city enterprise, because clearly anything that happens in a neighborhood across the city of Minneapolis also will likely impact a park. So he will be able to coordinate more closely as a result of being in that policy group and make decisions around how staff respond.
That's helpful. I think that, going forward, maybe at our next meeting, some clarity around exactly what the park board's role is in the EOC, and I suppose I'll know more at that point as well, is going to be important when the public has questions about why did X, Y, or Z happen in my community. that we have a clear understanding of what that is. So thank you for answering those questions. I'll go over to some other folks who have their hands raised. I have Commissioner Bourne.
Can you go to Commissioner Musich first?
Commissioner Musich.
Thank you, President Coghill. I appreciate the update on the trial preparations. I've been getting a lot of questions from neighborhood associations as well as members of the communities, particularly in the northern end of my district, that are wondering what the park board's doing in terms of ensuring that our staff knows what to do if there is civil unrest that might disrupt the park space that they're in to ensure that they're going to be safe. And then whether or not we have in place plans for turning on field lights in parks at night, should there be a need to try to make sure that it's very visible what's happening in the parks at night, as well as securing trash and recycling receptacles so that they're not used as accelerants should there be situations similar to what we were seeing during the summer. So I don't need an answer tonight, but I just wanted to share that feedback that I've been getting and hope that when you come back to us with more details at our next meeting that you can include in that what we should be communicating out to the public around what to expect from parks should there be civil unrest similar to what we saw earlier during last year, not earlier this year. COVID time. Years mean nothing, apparently.
President Coghill and Commissioner Musich, I can assure you that all of the things that you mentioned are currently being addressed as part of the preparedness planning that we're doing. There's a lot of work across the organization to make sure that we've got systems in place and levers that we can pull should the need arise. I don't know that we will publicly report out on every detail of what we're doing in preparation of this. I think some of that can be shared directly with commissioners if they have questions. I wouldn't probably want to get into the nuances of security planning in the board meeting, but all of the things you've mentioned are being considered.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Musich. Commissioner Bourne, are you available now to provide your comment?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, President Coghill. I just had one really quick question or comment about the Comcast partnership. Maybe two comments on that. That in conjunction with our announcement of the launch of the Powderhorn creation space. I mean, it's really exciting to see Superintendent just kind of your leadership in that in tech and STEAM and STEM areas, and it's something that you were very passionate about when you came here, and it's really exciting to see some of these things like just starting to roll off now. So congratulations, and thanks Heidi and Adam and the other staff involved for making that happen. I did have I thought that we had an agreement with USI to provide hotspots throughout our parks, and I might be looking to Jennifer for an answer on this. You might have the best historic memory, but anyone would be great. But I thought we had an agreement for hotspots through USI, and I guess if we don't have that capacity, man, that was just a really missed opportunity on USI's part to be able to just partner with us on that sort of level when they have a license with the city and have such on some ends like really good customer service reputations. I would hope that partnership could be a little bit deeper, and then that service value set is there with them as well. And it's just kind of sad to me that we had to go nationally for support for something that a hometown company, in my mind, seems like they would love to do. But am I misunderstanding the history with the hotspots through USI?
Perhaps I can answer that, Commissioner Bourne. U.S. Internet and us had a relationship about 7 years ago, as far as they were our primary internet vendor. And then we did an RFP and we moved to Comcast and CenturyLink for a lot of our circuits. In that process, they had a agreement with the city of Minneapolis to do those wireless hotspots, and I don't know where that contract is or if it's up or still continuing. But the Comcast Lift Zone project is a initiative by Comcast. It wasn't like it was bid out by the vendors who are supplying this kind of connection.
No, that's helpful. So, I mean, I think that does answer my question. And yeah, I mean, to my point, I mean, that's just great that Comcast is doing it. I wish that one of our hometown companies would maybe follow suit with such a great project as we're looking beyond 3 years. It sounds like there's going to be a price tag here. And hopefully Comcast will continue in their generosity. But if not, I mean, there's just a natural... For the amount of benefit that USI is receiving as a private company, both through the park board and through the city, free hotspots in community centers seems like a pretty small price to pay. So I'm glad Comcast. I'm ecstatic that this is happening with Comcast, and Al, again, like, it's exciting to see some of your vision around this role come to fruition. My other question, and I'll be brief, President Cogill, is to the superintendent, just a status update on the USS Minneapolis wheel retrieval and where that is at.
President Cogill, Commissioner Bourne, President Cogill, yes, we, the best way, and I'll have maybe Council Rice stepping in too, I have sent a letter, and President Cogill, we have sent a letter to the Superintendent Peterson from the school district, and we've sent a letter specifically asking for the return of the wheel and the bell. We've sent all documents, history, and that has been sent. We have followed it up again. I followed up again with a response back which we have not received. I know that, and Council Rice might have stepped in. Was it Representative Dabney that sent the letter also, Council Rice?
That's correct.
Yes, Mr. President. Actually, I think President Cogill has done more to advance the ball. Superintendent did send a letter that we did not receive a response from. Superintendent sent it. Actually, the superintendent sent a letter last fall on September 30th asking for the return of the bell. We did get a call from Mr. Ward, who admits that he stole the bell and had possession of the wheel and gave the bell and the wheel to the Minnetonka school system, and Mr. Ward said he had a relative who worked for the system. We did some research. We've not heard officially from the school district. At the end of January, the superintendent again said, hey, you haven't responded to our request. Here's what we've discovered about the theft of the bell. The history of the bell, we had Marilyn Pulcher and other staff people talk to the Southwest Journal. Superintendent documented that request. And then at the end of last month, giving it another month, the superintendent again asked, is there a response coming? And actually, President Cogill then actually issued a tweet, which I don't believe has been responded to, but it did prompt Representative Dabney to send a letter to his colleagues who represent the Minnetonka school system asking if they couldn't intervene and try to get an answer. So I think maybe the president, he's actually been more effective, I think, on this, at least trying to get some people's attention than your lawyer or your superintendent.
Yes, thank you to President Cogill and his efforts.
Thanks.
All of us are working on it, but President Cogill, I know if you want to.
No, thank you. That's the update. And if Commissioner Bourne's interested in learning more, we can certainly talk offline.
Like, just a quick follow-up question. I don't know if we, Brian, I don't know if we issue tweets, but aside from that, we have, like, if we have documentation of ownership, and I mean, it seems like we're starting to exhaust diplomatic means here, and we have our own law enforcement agency. I mean, at what point? I mean, this is a memorial to the at the time the servicemen, but the service people that put their lives on the line during the First World War, and it's something that should be treated with respect, and that memorial was entrusted to us, and the USS Minneapolis escorted unarmed folks across the Atlantic in times of war, and it just really, if the city of Minnetonka or the school district is just being unresponsive to what is now multiple diplomatic efforts by President Cogill, Superintendent Bangora, Council, and Representative Dabney, what are our next steps? I mean, if I, in the capacity of my office, filed a police report over stolen property and sent that to the chief, does that start pulling different levers?
Mr. President.
Commissioner Bourne, I think that this is something we can discuss after this meeting. I don't think that this is germane at the moment to the reports of officers, and I'd like to get to Commissioner Severson's questions.
If you could put it on the next agenda, if there hasn't been an update, that would be great. I mean, it is worthy of a board discussion at this point. So if you would commit to dedicating it to the next agenda. I mean, it is a report of the officers. This is that's what this point of the agenda is for. So, I mean, it is germane. But if you would commit to putting it on the Wednesday the 17th agenda, we can certainly follow up between then and there. But I'd like to see us conclude this and go back where it belongs.
Thank you, Commissioner Bourne. I'm looking forward to partnering with you on that. Commissioner Severson.
Thanks, President Cogill.
President Cogill, I just want to say thank you and kudos to the Park Board for moving on internet access, much improved internet access. And I would actually challenge all of my colleagues on the board to try to get into a rec center and see if you can do your work on one of the computers and the laptops, or one of the laptops in our rec centers. I remember being the director of Lexington Park. I think that was 2008 was the last time I was there, and I had families coming over from the Glendale housing units every day asking for can they use internet. And the computer rooms that we have, or I don't know if that's the correct terminology, they're not the best. They're very outdated, and I remember reaching out and saying, how can we get better internet? How can we get better equipment for our communities? And the response I got, I kid you not, was encourage people to go to the libraries. And I say, well, they're not at the libraries. They're here in our buildings now. How come we can't do this? So although it's about 14 years later, I really want to always press that we move forward with technology, particularly when it benefits the users of our community, particularly the communities that look like the Glendale housing units in North Minneapolis. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Severson. I want to note, and I apologize for the delay, there was a time certain public hearing at 6:30 we did regarding the Marcy playground. I believe there was not there were not any sign-ups for call-in for that. I just want to note that we did not have any sign-ups for that public hearing. Is there any other questions for the superintendent? Not seeing any. Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you, staff, for all the updates. I know we covered a lot of ground there. All right, moving on with the agenda. We're moving into consent. I'll ask for a motion on the consent agenda. That is Resolution 2021-138 through Resolution 2021-147. Do I have a motion? I have a motion. A motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion. I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda? Is there any discussion? For the final time, is there any discussion? I'm not seeing any. I'll ask the secretary to please take the roll.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner Severson.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Commissioner Bourne.
Aye.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Commissioner Hassan.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
President Cogill.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
The consent agenda carries. Moving into reports of standing committees, Chair Forney.
On behalf of the Administration and Finance Committee, I'd like to move Resolution 2021-131, a resolution approving lease agreement with Francis Burak Zarski, leasing commercial space at 1828 Marshall Street Northeast, Suite number 11, located within the Above the Falls Regional Park for a term of 1 year, effective March 16, 2021.
The resolution has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
This resolution has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Bourne.
Thank you, President Cogill. Just looking for some background on the lease amounts, uses, and whether or not we considered any alternative uses of the space.
I'll ask if Ms. Downey is on, or...
I am. Commissioner Bourne, Chair Forney. This is an interior unit. The lease amount is consistent with the previous tenant's lease amount. It's one that has no windows. It was used as a studio before. It's consistent with the use that is going to be for the proposed use.
Do you have the lease consideration amount?
Yes, I do. It's actually in the resolution. It's $400 a month.
Great. Thank you. I don't have any other questions on this one, Ms. Downey.
Are there any other questions on Resolution 2021-131? I'm not seeing any. I will ask the Secretary to take the roll on the resolution.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner Bourne.
Aye.
Commissioner Severson.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Commissioner Hassan.
Aye.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
President Cogill.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
That carries. Chair Forney.
I'd like to move Resolution 2021-132, resolution approving lease agreement with DeVol Trotman, leasing commercial space at 1828 Marshall Street Northeast, Suite number 16, located within the Above the Falls Park for the term of 1 year, effective March 15, 2021, at the rate of $1,100 per month gross, including utilities and taxes.
The resolution has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Resolution's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this lease agreement? Commissioner... Sorry, I'm struggling to see who it is. I'm assuming it's... Oh, Commissioner Bourne.
Thank you, President Cogill. Just the same similar set of questions for Ms. Downey.
I'm sorry, your question, Commissioner Bourne?
Just the background of the purpose of the use of the lease, whether or not there was any consideration for alternative uses like housing. I do have the lease amount on this one in front of me, but just a little bit of background on the context of the space and what it's being used for.
As the background of the resolution states, it was previously used by, I think it's Visions Minnesota, Black Visions Minnesota. It was leased until March 14th, so the use will be continuous. It is for, it was leased previously for an office use and will be used as an art studio. It is zoned commercially, cannot be used for any housing or residential use. The lease rate is the same as it was previously.
Great, thank you, Ms. Downey.
Are there any other questions on Resolution 2021-132? I'm not seeing any questions. I'll ask the Secretary to please take the roll.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Commissioner Bourne.
Aye.
Commissioner Severson.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner Hassan.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
President Kogel.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
That resolution carries. Chair Forney.
I'd like to move Resolution 2021-135, a resolution approving amended use of alcohol in the park policy.
The resolution has been moved. Is there a second? Is there a second?
I'll second it so it can get tabled. I don't want it to fail for the lack of a second.
The resolution has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I would make a motion to table Resolution 2021-135 until for reconsideration on the second board meeting, by no later than the second board meeting in April.
Second.
Mr.
The
President.
resolution, yeah, go ahead.
Mr. President, I think substantively table and it is the common word, but I think the correct motion, as Commissioner Bourne's articulated, is to postpone the matter, Resolution 135 to the March 17th meeting. Motion to table is really dealt with only for during the course of a meeting. It's more of a temporary measure. So I think the correct motion is a motion to postpone.
Yeah, I would then make a motion to postpone Resolution 2025-135 to no later than the second regular meeting in April.
There has been a motion to postpone. Is that motion debatable, Councilor Rice?
It's debatable with respect to the date and the time and why somebody thinks that it needs to be postponed. The substance of the resolution itself about alcohol in the parks is not a debatable topic under this motion.
Thank you, Council. Point of information, the resolution is 2021-135 versus 2025-135 for anyone who might be just listening to our meeting and not seeing the screen.
Thank you, Commissioner Musich. Yes, the resolution is 2021-135 as noted, and the motion made by Commissioner Bourne is to postpone the item to the March 17th meeting. Is there any discussion on the postponement? Commissioner Musich.
Was it March? Sorry, I meant to put my hand down. I didn't need to speak to it now. Thank you.
Commissioner Bourne, did you mean to speak?
No other, I just, for clarification, the resolution was to postpone to no later than the second regular meeting in April. I'd love to see it come forward, but just to make sure that the motion is recorded accurately, and I just hope that my colleagues would support this so we can do a little bit more work on it offline and bring it back to the board very soon.
Thank you, Commissioner Bourne. I'd certainly be curious to know what the additional updates are, I'm supportive of this updated policy. I certainly hope that we are not attempting to bargain with the police union. I know that they are concerned about how often or how many hours we are using for security, and I'm really hopeful that we can actually pass this policy so that we have a new way of providing safety that benefits everybody in our park system. And since it's not clear to me what exactly the improvements are going to be, I won't be voting to postpone. Any other questions or comments regarding the motion to postpone? Commissioner Severson?
I guess I just want to go on record saying I'm extremely disappointed that our president of this board is not interested in bargaining with all of our units, whether we like who they are or not. They are our employees and they are a union, and that may be a sign of union busting, and that shows great concern on my behalf. Thank you.
Any other comments? I'm not seeing any. I'll ask.
I do have my hand raised for a second time.
Oh, you do now? Okay. Go ahead, Commissioner Warren.
Thank you, President Cogill. I mean, I guess this could be the second illustration this evening as to how broken the recent board rule change that went into effect while I was on paternity leave is, and really just breaks the board and limits our ability to be able to have any sort of discussion outside of tabling. And then you have a part-time, I mean, we're just going to see this happen time and time and time again, so we won't be able to, in a public and open format, be able to share what President Cogill's concerns are, what Commissioner Bourne's motivation is for tabling. And so, I mean, it's just an incredibly broken rule that this board had passed in my absence, and I would hope that much sooner than later the folks that had passed this would see just how it really breaks the board's ability to govern effectively, efficiently, and swiftly when needed. So, but yeah, I would ask my colleagues to support the postponement of this resolution, and hopefully we can get it done in a timely manner.
Commissioner French.
Yeah, as someone who, the former organizer of security guards, security guards don't make a lot of money. They don't get paid a lot, and they do a job supplementing security where the police can't be at all times.
Thank you, Commissioner French. Seeing no other hands raised, I'll ask the secretary to take. Oh, hello, Commissioner French.
Could you guys not hear me?
Oh yeah, you cut out. My apologies. If you have more comments, continue.
Where did I cut off at?
You just said that security guards are paid low wages, and that was all I heard.
I remember actually I did security for years and years, and the cops would come in and make 3-4 times the amount of money as security did, and they did less work than we did. And a lot of those folks who are doing security jobs are people of color, immigrants. I think they deserve a chance to be able to make some more, get more hours. I mean, and what if you guys may think that you don't have enough money to pay cops? Everybody doesn't have enough money to pay the fees the cops are charging. And so maybe they want to hire some black security company or a brown security company. We'll have an opportunity to do that. And if somebody wants to hire cops, I'm pretty sure we're not forbidding cops from being hired in our parks, are we? So that opportunity is that's not going to be taken away. But what is going to happen is going to be opportunity to do security work from a whole bunch of other different places. And so I would encourage folks to think about that and find out other solutions besides licensed law enforcement officers all the time. We have other solutions in our community that already exist. Let's look at them. Let's figure out ways that we can utilize those systems that already exist here. Thank you.
Point of order, President. Point of order.
Thank you, Commissioner French.
Point of order, President Cogill.
Yes, Commissioner Bourne.
Thank you, President Cogill. Just for the record, and I just wanted to wait out of respect for my colleague until he was finished speaking. Again, an illustration of how broken our board rules is. Commissioner French's comments, as stated by Council Rice, are actually out of order to this resolution to postpone. They don't pertain to the motion to postpone. And these are exactly the type of conversations, if we are following the rules, are prohibited. So again, we just have a grossly broken set of operating rules right now with this new rule in place. So if respectfully, I would just ask that that we just take note that those last comments were out of order.
Thank you, Commissioner Bourne. Vice President Vita.
Thank you, President Cogill. I'm going to be voting in favor tonight of postponing this because I personally have been meeting with staff and trying to get a better understanding of some concerns and what this policy would look like for our system moving forward. I appreciate any of my colleagues who will be voting in favor of this because I do need additional time for myself to have a better understanding.
Thank you, Vice President. Not seeing any other hands raised, I'll ask the Secretary to take the roll on postponing.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
No.
Commissioner Hassan.
Aye.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner Severson.
Aye.
Commissioner Bourne.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
President Cogill.
No.
You have 7 ayes, 2 nays.
The motion carries. Moving on with our agenda, I'll turn it over to Chair Meyer.
Thank you. First, before I make the motion, just to set the record straight on the rule that we have, I'd like to request that Council Rice revisit the ruling that he made at the beginning of this meeting on this.
I will. I'll research the matter and write an opinion, a formal opinion for Senator.
You're not ready to do it now? Okay, well, in that case, I move resolution 2021-136, a resolution approving the Hiawatha Golf Course Area Master Plan and its amendment to the Nokomis Hiawatha Regional Park Master Plan.
The resolution has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
The resolution has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
I'd like to call the question. Second.
Okay, the question has been called.
It's not debatable, President Cogill.
We would take a vote on calling the question.
And we will take now a vote on calling the question. I'll ask the Secretary to take the roll.
Commissioner Musich.
No.
Commissioner Severson.
Aye.
Commissioner Bourne.
Aye.
Commissioner Hassan.
Aye.
Commissioner Forney.
No.
Commissioner French.
Point of information, are we voting on the resolution or are we voting on the amendment?
Commissioner French, we're voting to call the question. So once the question's been called, then we would be voting on the resolution, is my understanding.
Yeah. Yes.
Commissioner Meyer.
No.
Vice President Vita.
No.
President Cogill.
No.
You have 4 ayes, 5 nays.
That fails. Vice President Vita?
I'd like to move to postpone, to postpone this resolution no later than the first regular board meeting of April.
There's been a motion and a second to postpone the item to no later than the second or the first regular meeting of April. Is there any discussion to the postponement?
President Cogill, I would just say that I have been working very hard with the superintendent and staff on some on some amendments that I think would be beneficial to the Black community, to really showing appreciation for the history of the golf course. And again, I just need a little bit of additional time because I want to work in collaboration with community and the folks who are going to be most affected by this resolution. I also think we are in an unprecedented time where we can actually do something for the African American community in our golfing department that has never been done before. So I would appreciate any support that I can get on this.
President Cogill, did you hear a second?
I did. There was a second from Commissioner Musich, or Commissioner Forney.
Thank you.
Commissioner French.
My big concern right now is the fact that this is something that is on the public radar, and we postpone it, and then it drops off the radar, and people forget about it. And I'm concerned that if we postpone it today, that people will forget about it next week. They won't show up. It's very important. The Chauvin trial starts next week. This is important. We do this now. We don't wait till it's convenient. We don't wait until people aren't looking. We do this now. Vote on this now. Thank you, President Cogill.
Thank you, Commissioner French. Commissioner Musich.
Thank you, President Cogill. I understand the desire to work on additional amendments. I'm receptive to hearing those. I would hope that we can have them come before the board at our next meeting. As Commissioner French noted, people have been waiting a very long time for us to make a decision about the future of this space. So I think if there's a way for us to do so at our next meeting, I'd love to see that happen versus waiting until April. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Musich. Vice President Vita for the second time.
Thank you, President Cogill. I just want to apologize to my colleagues on the board. I know that this has been going on for a really long time, and I know that, we need to do something about this. It's just a really sensitive subject to me, and I really want the community to feel like they've had an opportunity to share in the end goal of this project. So again, I apologize. I appreciate all the support, and I am doing everything I can to bring something to this board sooner than later.
Thank you, Vice President Vita. Are any other comments? I'm not seeing other hands raised at this time. I'll ask for the Secretary to take the roll on postponing the resolution.
Commissioner Bourne.
I'll pass.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
No.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Commissioner Severson.
No.
Commissioner Hassan.
No.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
President Cogill.
Pass.
Commissioner Bourne.
Secretary Ringgold, can you read the tallies to me where the vote stands right now?
Yes. Commissioner Musich, aye. Commissioner Severson, nay. Commissioner Meyer, aye. Commissioner Hassan, nay. Commissioner French, nay. Commissioner Forney, aye. Vice President Vita, aye. President Cogill and Commissioner Bourne pass.
And you just went a little too quick for me to count along. That's three no's to postponement and 4 yeas to postponement so far?
Correct.
I will abstain.
President Cogill.
I hear you.
Oh, aye.
You have 5 ayes, 3 nays, 1 abstain.
That carries. Moving on.
I'll move resolution 2021-137, a resolution approving an amended and restated joint powers agreement between the state of Minnesota, acting through its Commissioner of Natural Resources, County of Hennepin, acting through its Department of Community Works, National Park Service, acting through the Mississippi National River and Recreation Area, Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, and the Minnesota Historical Society for properties at Fort Snelling in Hennepin County, Minnesota.
The resolution has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
The resolution has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on resolution 2021-137? Any discussion? Any discussion? I'm not seeing any discussion, so I'll ask the secretary to please take the roll.
Commissioner Forney.
Aye.
Commissioner Severson.
Aye.
Commissioner Hassan.
Aye.
Commissioner Bourne.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner Meyer.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Sorry, Commissioner French, was that an aye?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Vice President Vita.
Aye.
President Cogill.
Aye.
You have 9 ayes.
The resolution carries. We have no more business for the main, meeting this evening, the regular meeting, but I will go through petitions and communications. Commissioner Bourne.
Thank you, President Cogill. I'll just state during reports of officers, I had made a specific request to revisit the topic of the desecrated war memorial and stolen memorial to the seamen who lost their lives in the First World War. And there wasn't a specific answer to bring that back to the board for a more germane time to talk about it. So again, I would just ask that President Cogill, you do make a commitment to have this come forward to the board so we can collectively act. It looks like the olive branches may have fallen off the vine at this point, and so I think the board should start taking some more proactive steps, either through a resolution that gives either the superintendent, the Minnetonka School Board, or our law enforcement agency some concrete next steps. I'm sure that everybody on the board thinks that this is important, and it's just it's really discouraging. I appreciate all the diplomatic efforts that have happened to this point, and I'm hoping you can report back that it's concluded by then. But we've been working on it for a year. Spring is around the corner. There's going to be a lot more people coming to contemplate in that space and contemplate the costs of the service women and men who have given their lives in all of our world conflicts. So I would hope that, while there wasn't a specific commitment to bring it back to the 17th, I hope, President Cogill, you can make a specific commitment publicly tonight so the board can bring forward a resolution if it's not resolved by then. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bourne. Commissioner Hassan.
I'll pass.
Thank you, Commissioner Hassan. Commissioner Musich.
I'm going to pass.
Thank you, Commissioner Musich. Commissioner Severson.
Thank you, President Cogill. I really want to press our superintendent and our recreation department to be prepared for our kids in Minneapolis to be out of school for 2 weeks. Starting on March 29th and April 5th, our kids will be out of school. And I know that we have had strict rules about our facilities, but I really, truly hope that we are going to be a partner and support our children in our communities, particularly in places that we need them. So once again, March 29th, that whole week, and April 5th, our kids Minneapolis Public School kids will be out of school. I just really want to challenge us to come up with some unique ideas and not just stuff at night. Our kids have been cooped up at home, and of course we want to do stuff socially distanced and safe with masks, but I just want to implore you to figure out something that will be extremely beneficial to our communities. Last but not least, I think we need to have a much broader conversation about unions and how we support them, how they're fighting to maintain minimum wages and fair wages for employees and people. I think busting any union it doesn't do justice for any union. So like I said, I hope we can have more robust conversations on what this looks like in the future. Again, really disappointed to hear our president not want to negotiate or have conversations which should be fair and which we should be working towards no matter what. With that, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Severson. Commissioner Meyer.
Pass.
Thanks, Commissioner Meyer. Commissioner French.
Thank you, President Congo. Minneapolis in the last year or so has went through a very trying time. A lot of that trauma is going to be revisited next week. And so I'm going to use this platform as an opportunity to just ask everybody to give everybody a little bit of grace, a little bit of understanding, more than you would normally give them. Our city burned a year ago. I don't want that to happen again. So it's going to take us being a community again together. So, I mean, speaking to somebody you don't normally speak to. Going say hi to a neighbor that you don't normally say hi to. Getting to know your neighbors. Getting to know people that take care of your kids. If they don't look like you, figure out where they're from. Ask them about their experiences. Get to know other people. I don't want our city to burn again. The stuff that happened last summer is traumatizing. So I'll use this platform to tell everybody, just to show everybody else in your life, just a little bit of grace. Thank you, President Cargo. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner French. Commissioner Forney.
Thank you, President Vogel. Yes, I did attend both the Senate and the House Metro Park delegations gathering, quote unquote, anyway, on Zoom. And I just want to, first of all, compliment, first of all, the professionals, the lobbyists, et cetera, in their presentation. But this is an awesome group. It's rare that, what should we say, so many legislators, whatever, are in agreement. And we have a really awesome group, the Metro group. And so it was very reassuring. I know we had an incredible year last year, at the Capitol, and I'm hopeful with the tone that seemed to be there in both of those gatherings that we might have a very successful year again. But thank you, Council Rice, or Lobbyist Rice, I should say, is leaned on as our history philosopher, et cetera, and very grateful that we have him on our board. So thank you again for the work that you did.
Thank you, Commissioner Forney. Vice President Vito.
Thank you, President Cogill. I would just like to thank my colleagues again tonight for support on tabling the golf course. I know that it's a very important issue, and again, I appreciate the support. I'm committed to getting this resolution back in front of the board as soon as possible. Just like Commissioner French stated, I think we are coming up on a very different time in our city, and it is going to be important for us to check in with folks that we care about and that we love and make sure they're okay during these very difficult times. I appreciate the presentation we had earlier on preparing for the Derek Chauvin trial. I don't know what role parks will play, but I hope that they are positive ones. As the president stated earlier, if there's anything I can do for staff or for my colleagues to help support in us playing a positive role, please feel free to reach out and let me know. I think it's time more than ever for us to do all we can to support folks in our city.
Thank you, Vice President. Thanks, everybody, for their words this evening and the work on a variety of tough issues. I'm hopeful that we can bring some of these items we've discussed this evening back swiftly and find resolution. And I will say to Commissioner Bourne, the same thing that I said earlier, looking forward to partnering with you on how we get back these items that have been stolen from us. I think that the work that's been done more broadly by folks even outside the park board on bringing attention to this is helping, and we're working to find a solution that isn't overly aggressive. I'll also just want to mention this evening, we do need to be sensitive, and as Commissioner French said, extend a good amount of grace to our neighbors and the people that we work with every day. I will do my utmost to continue to do that with my colleagues here, and I look forward to collaborating with everybody, staff and the board, and how we can be positive community influences during this very traumatic month and months ahead of us. It's going to be hard, and I think I'm hopeful that we're being forward-thinking and collaborative and positive. I think the parks are a place that can be a really positive influence right now if we think right about them. With that, I'll ask for, I will just adjourn the regular meeting of the Minneapolis Park and Recreation Board, and I will turn it over to Chair Forney.
Thank you. I would like to convene the Administration and Finance Committee. Would the Secretary please call the roll?
Vice President Vita.
Present.
Commissioner Musich.
Present.
Commissioner French.
Here.
Vice President Hassan.
Here.
Chair Forney.
Here.
You have a quorum.
I'll take a motion to approve the agenda. Thank you. Secretary, please call the roll.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Here.
Commissioner French, should I record that as an aye?
I'm sorry.
There we go. Thank you. Vice Chair Hassan.
Aye.
Chair Forney.
Aye.
You have 5 ayes.
I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of Wednesday, February 17th, 2021.
So moved.
Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Vice Chair Hassan.
Aye.
Chair Forney.
Aye.
You have 5 ayes.
Thank you. We have 2 action items. Resolution 2021-148.
I'd like to move Resolution 2021-148, a resolution approving the acceptance of additional fundraising by the Friends of Thomas Lowry Park intended to further support park improvements associated with the Seven Pools Rehabilitation Project, a feature of the Thomas Lowry Park, a part of the Minneapolis Park System.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any presentation people would like? No, well, I'll just add, this is just an amazing effort. I'm very, very grateful to the Friends for raising this additional funds for the pavers in Seven Pools, and I look forward to this all coming together. Once again, it just blows me away just how much goodwill there is. And will the Secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Vice Chair Hassan.
Aye.
Chair Forney.
Aye.
You have 5 ayes.
Thank you.
I'd like to move Resolution 2021-149, a resolution authorizing the superintendent to submit a 2022 proposal to the Legislative Citizen Commission on the Minnesota Resources from the Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund for 5 projects.
I would like to have a presentation on this, so I believe that, Adam, are you around? Sorry, I can't see you. Oh, there you are.
Yes, Chair Forney, I'm here.
Lovely.
I do have a presentation on the network drive, and as soon as the Secretary has that up, I'll begin. Thank you for the time to speak tonight. I'll just say briefly at the very top of this that the LCCMR is a grant program that we have been fairly successful at in the past, but we feel like we can always do better because we often submit multiple projects and only get one funded. So this year, we've had, as usual, a staff work group come together to identify projects that are consistent in some way with master plans or other policy guidance that we have, and also things that are kind of ripe and ready to go. And so this year we have 5 projects. Some of these were submitted last year and were not funded, and so we feel it's important to try again. So what I'll do with this presentation is very briefly talk about the 5 projects and the dollar amounts that are on the screen in front of you now. And I do have some additional slides with additional detail. If anybody wants to go into more detail on any one of these, I'll allow the questions to kind of dictate that so that I don't do a very long presentation. So the 5 proposals are educational bio blitzes in the regional parks. This was submitted last year. This is an idea to get community members out into the parks doing citizen science to both help us fill natural resources data gaps as well as expose folks to the regional parks, to natural environments, and to science careers. Habitat connectivity between neighborhood parks and the Mississippi Flyway is called for in the Ecological System Plan. This would be a pilot project to figure out how we could utilize neighborhood parks, street trees, and other public and private lands to extend the flyway fingers, as it were, from the Mississippi River into the core of our city. Prairie and Savannah restoration at Bohemian Flats. This is an area on the river in the Cedar Riverside neighborhood that has been used for construction laydown for many years, including by the state of Minnesota. And we have offered that to our partners. And now we feel like it's time that we need to do something here to restore that landscape, which has been heavily compacted and eroded by that consistent construction use. So we would do a prairie and savanna restoration, which is identified in the Mississippi Gorge Master Plan. Those 3 projects were all submitted last year. The 2 new ones are to do a significant project to enhance in education and the environment itself at the Robertsburg Sanctuary and the Lindale Rose Garden. This would be kind of a joint effort in that one geographic location to create more of a visitor center, a welcome center for both spaces. and then to enhance our ability to maintain those spaces in a sustainable way. And then the last one is up in Worth Park. The Bassett Creek Watershed Management Commission is going to be dredging the lagoons in Worth Park. The significant water quality enhancement if they do that. And we'd like to bring some funding to help match their work and then also to further enhance the vegetation around those lagoons once they are finished. Those are the 5 projects that we proposed. You notice these are all up to amounts. We've not finalized the exact grant request amount, and that'll happen in the coming weeks as these grants are written. With that, Chair Forney, I'll turn it back over to you. If anybody has questions about any of the specifics, I can page through some slides and put some more bullets.
I see any hands? I'm not seeing any. Oh, wait a second. No? Oh, excuse me. Yes, Commissioner Music.
Thank you, Chair Forney. My screen kept disappearing on me every time I tried to hit the reaction button, so I appreciate you acknowledging my request to speak. I'm super excited to see BioBlitzes as part of what we're talking about trying to get funded. It's something that I've participated in other cities, and to just see the joy and excitement that doing something like this brings to people's ability to interact with their natural environment is so fantastic to see, and I would love to have Minneapolis residents be able to experience that. So thank you for bringing this to LCCMR for funding potential. I'm also interested in understanding whether or not construction around Bohemian Flats for the next couple decades, if not century, is done. I know they've basically, I think, replaced all the major infrastructure in this area, but do we have confidence that if we take the time and energy and money to put a prairie restoration in place here, that it won't be undone by additional construction needs by our partner agencies?
Commissioner Music, Chair Forney, we hope everyone is done, because as you state, pretty much every bridge in that stretch of the Mississippi River that would use this area as a laydown site is concluding. So our hope is that now, and our pitch to the state will be that now is the time, because this park space has been used for bridge infrastructure construction activities for 7 or 8 years, that the state maybe does have some obligation to help us return that to the natural landscape that was intended in our master planning. So again, we hope that they're done. We believe that they're all done. And maybe this is us putting a pin in the fact that if they're not done, they need to find someplace else to lay down.
Okay, thank you for that additional clarification. I appreciate it.
Vice President Vita.
Thank you, Chair Forney. I don't have a question. I just wanted to say thanks so much to staff for putting this together. I'm looking forward to how we move forward on this. In particular, the rose garden and the bird sanctuary is exciting to see that we're going to be moving forward with possibly some improvements I've had. In my years on the board, I've had a ton of folks reach out to me about those places in particular, so I'm looking forward to some improvements. And so thanks again, staff. Thank you, Director Arberson, so very much.
You're welcome, Commissioner Vita.
I don't think I see any other hands. Yes, I too am very excited about these, particularly the 2 new ones. Very exciting. I can't quite envision where the lagoons are, but I'm excited that it's on the staff's radar. And from what I understand, this was a wonderful collaboration between departments trying to seek out these initiatives. So thank you all. I love it also that it's aligning with all the master planning that we have been doing over the past several years. So thank you, Adam and staff. And with that, would the Secretary please call the roll?
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
Vice Chair Hassan.
Aye.
Chair Forney.
Aye.
You have 5 ayes.
Thank you, and I will adjourn then the administration and finance. Thank you.
Time being 7:31, I'll call to order the Planning Committee. Secretary, please call the roll.
Vice President Vita.
Present.
Commissioner Musich.
Present.
Commissioner French.
Here.
Vice Chair Forney.
Here.
Chair Meyer.
Present.
You have a quorum.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Secretary, please call the roll.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Vice Chair Forney.
Aye.
Chair Meyer.
Aye.
You have 5 ayes.
That carries. We have no minutes this evening, so is there a motion to move Resolution 2021-150, a resolution approving the concept plan for Marcy Park Site Improvements Phase 1?
So moved.
Great. As Chair Kogel noted, we didn't do the time certain public hearing because there were no sign-ins to call in by phone, but we did have one written comment. Secretary Ringgold, can you please read that comment?
Dear park planners and Park and Recreation Board members, I hope you can read this even though I missed the morning deadline because of a death in the family, and I'm speaking only for myself, not the Marcy Homes Neighborhood Association, of whose board I'm a member. When Marcy Park was created, I was chairman of the Neighborhoods Parks Committee, working to redo both Holmes and Marcy Parks on former school sites. The park board planners in those days at first opposed creating the park on the site where the Marcy school building was demolished. We sought the park to have some green space on the east side of the interstate in an area being paved over with new construction at an amazing rate. There were families with small children and daycare facilities on that side of the freeway. There were still some daycares within walking distance of the park. I attended nearly all of your planning meetings that covered the east side parks, and at each one, I encouraged your staff to try to get a sense of the neighborhood in the area. I don't feel that anyone ever did other than to determine that many students live in the area and they'd probably use a basketball court. Do you even know whether any of those students have small children or who could also use the park? And do you know that they'd be attracted to a half court for basketball? After a recent snowfall, I saw 5 children and adults sledding in the small hill. I particularly like the hill because it also attracts students to sunbathe in the summer.
Was that the completion of the letter? Since we only have one, if there's more of it, you can read the rest of it.
Certainly, I will finish that off. A couple of trees allow for hammocks between them. I have seen studying going on both on the hill and the bench. I really appreciate your attention to this small park, and I hope you continue with the small hill and at least some playground for small children. I cannot tell from your maps or discussions whether the hill remains. The hill is located to give security, clear views through the park from the street. The park was designed for relaxation, green space, and small children. Please preserve these goals as much as possible.
Thank you, Secretary Ringgold. And I would like to request a presentation from Ms. Rossler on this.
Can I ask a question before we get the presentation? Who was the speaker for which the...
Oh, Secretary Ringgold, can you clarify the speaker who submitted written testimony?
Bill Huntziker.
Thank you.
Is Julie available?
Yes, thank you, Chair Meyer, Commissioners, for considering Resolution 2021-150. As you can see by the next slide tonight, there was to be a public hearing, and we're seeking approval for the concept plan for site improvements at Marcy Park. The third slide, it goes into the background on the Marcy Park Master Plan efforts. The concept plan that we're going to be looking at tonight is based on the east of the river park plan for Marcy Park that was approved by the board on March 27th, 2019, after a year and a half of intensive community engagement. The approved master plan includes a picnic area, naturalized areas or B1, a scamper boulder wall, a basketball court, a hammock area, a dog park, improved walking trails, and multi-generational nature play. And there was a focus on the young adult and university student age park in the design because that is over 50% of the neighborhood park population, and adults make up over 92% of the community, the Marcy Homes community. The next slide is information about our community engagement process. To engage with the community, we established a project webpage. We sent out .gov email announcements to over 6,000 registrants. We also worked with the neighborhood organization, and they posted information on their website and included it in their newsletter when they were able to. We put up signs in the park. I sent out numerous emails to community stakeholders, including the preschool nearby, student groups, faith groups, and other organizations. There were 2 online surveys. The first survey asked questions about design concepts and priorities about the design concept based on the approved master plan. We had over 120 respondents. The second survey showed a proposed concept plan, and we only had 18 respondents. We did present this proposed concept plan to the Marcy Homes neighborhood at their annual meeting. And we ran out of time at the end of the presentation and asked interested persons to please comment through our survey that was still out at the time, and we provided that information to them so they could give us feedback. The Park Dedication Fee Task Force also engaged with the Marcy Homes community and provided support for new amenities within the park, especially to support the university students a little bit better than they had been by the amenities in the Marcy Park at this time. We also conducted a professional advisory committee, and it was through that committee that we discovered we needed some infrastructure improvements. And then again, we solicited comments from university students via email and connecting with housing groups and attempting to connect with other organizations. The next slide shows additional considerations for concept design. So the things that guided the master plan the things that guided our concept plan development were the approved master plan, community feedback, and staff, as well as other community feedback such as the task force. We found during our concept, when we were trying to develop a concept plan, that there is debris from the former school mixed with ash scattered throughout the park. So we looked at how to implement the amenities without doing a lot of major excavation. The ash-laden soils are with debris can't be disposed of in a normal manner. It's a little more expensive, so we tried to minimize that. We focused improvements on new accessible internal trails to replace the existing, and a new half basketball court, a new dog park with a stormwater infiltration area, and a new electrical service. The electrical service and trails were both indicated to be in poor condition and in need of updating. The pavilion and unusable drinking fountain will also need to be removed. And we've included as alternates picnic tables, benches, a new drinking fountain, and refeeding all the pedestrian lights in the park, as well as hammock stands, and restoring disturbed turf with bee lawn. And then it added, okay, that's it for that. I'm sorry. The existing 5 to 12 play area will remain during this phase of improvement, and future improvements may include a boulder scamper wall, nature play, and expanding the basketball court. The total funding available is $536,495 from the 2020 and 2021 capital improvement program. The next slide is an overview of the proposed concept plan for this phase. And it shows the new trails internal to the park that will be constructed so that there are accessible routes to the various amenities within the park. It focuses also on the dog park and the half basketball court. The amenities have been shifted a little bit to preserve as many trees as possible as well. The next slide shows feedback that we received during engagement. During our scoping and priorities phase, there was interest in a variety of improvements and preserving green space. And again, the Neighborhood Park Dedication Task Force expressed interest in developing park amenities which better fit the needs of university students. During the concept feedback stage, feedback was varied. There was a newfound interest in nature play implementation, which is shown to be in a future phase. And in that, in the respondents, when we looked at the responses, the majority of those were from outside the neighborhood. There also were several requests for pollinator areas or native planting areas. We are going to try to incorporate plantings or bee lawn in the project as funding permits. There were 2 commenters excited about a new dog park, one against, 2 community requests for full court basketball if funding becomes available. And do note that in the concept plan that we looked at previously, we have rotated the court so that it can be expanded in the future. We had a few requests for hammock posts, comments to focus on other things, a request for swings, a request for community garden, and support for increased accessibility within the park. That concludes the presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments? I have several. I'm not seeing anyone else with any yet. Thank you for this. First, I just wanted to know, saying that it's like 50% students, I think is really understating it, isn't it? Like, I think at age 35, I know that I'm in the 15% most elderly people in this neighborhood. So I think it's really an overwhelming number of students who live nearby, and I'm glad that we're making changes to accommodate them. Can you answer the question that was asked in the written comment asking if the hill is going to remain in this phase?
I think they were referring to the north hill that it creates a nice vista through the park, and yes, that will remain.
And how about the other one?
Well, areas for play and recreation are at the heart of the plan, but improvements for younger persons will happen in a future phase of improvement.
Okay. And then can you pull up the screen with the basketball court? I mean, because the basketball court moved location from where it was originally at in the East of the River Master Plan. And I had a few people express concern about it, but because the master plan calls for a full court. I understand we don't have the funds yet to do that. But first, can you speak to why it's moved to the location where it is? And then second, can you just confirm for me that we're going to be able to eventually accommodate a full court there?
Sure. Some of the feedback that we heard from staff during our advisory committee time indicated that there were concerns about activity at the court, and so moving it out more into the open helps the passive supervision that would occur in the basketball court. Also, there were concerns about it being real close to, right next to the housing because of potential noise concerns. And so that was part of it. I think there was there were a few comments during the initial scoping phase about those same types of things. And so that was why that was looked at. And then in addition to that, the trees and other things on the site that are on the west side of the site and concerns about excavation warranted us looking at if it could be shifted to minimize tree removal and minimize excavation in areas where we were concerned about possible debris. So that was part of that, the reason for that. And then the second part of your question, I think you asked about if it could be, if a full court could be included.
I'm not asking if you can do it now, but I just want to make sure that we're aligning it in such a way that there's going to be space to do it eventually. And when I'm looking at this image, I'm seeing the path and the picnic area in the space where I assume that the second half of the court would go. So I just want to get clarification on that.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Chair Meyer and Commissioners. We certainly will rotate it so that it can be added on to, and we could also amend the plan to include an alternate for a full court basketball in the event that it were to fit into our available funding. So, does that?
Yes, that answers my question. Commissioner Musich.
Thank you, Chair Meyer. So I have a similar question in that so my understanding of the park dedication fee rules is that we can only utilize those funds when providing a new amenity. There's a lot of construction when I look at maps of this area, and I reflect on the last time I was there, that the park dedication fee map doesn't reflect some new projects that I know are being built in this area that are likely generating park dedication fees for us. Do park dedication fees, can they be utilized to help finish that court so that it's a full court at a later date, or are they no longer able to be utilized for that because we've already provided that amenity in the half court installation?
Chair Meyer, Commissioner Musich, if I may interject. Right, we'll look at the remaining park dedication funds when we once we receive bids and we come back to the board for contract approval. As Julia said, you know, looking at a full court, we'll bid that as an alternate in the project to see how it works. But right, both of the improvements that we propose to use park dedication fees for the basketball court and the dog park are new amenities that expand our use at this park. So they will allow us to
right, and I get that we can use them now. I guess I'm just wondering if at a later date we have available park dedication fee money, are we able to utilize it to implement the full court? Or will they say to us, no, you can't because we already put a half court in and so there's already a basketball court here?
Chair Meyer, Commissioner Musich, it would be if we came back, let's say in 5 years, because there's park dedication to build the second half, yes, we can use park dedication because we'd be expanding use. We'd be expanding the opportunity for play. Yeah, good question.
Thank you for clarifying that for me. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Musich. Are there any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, Secretary, please call the roll.
Commissioner Vita.
Aye.
Sorry, Vice President Vita, my apology. Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Vice Chair Forney.
Aye.
Chair Meyer.
Aye.
You have 5 ayes.
That carries. Is there a motion for Resolution 2021-151, a resolution approving temporary occupancy under Section 4F of the Transportation Act of 1966 for the Queen Avenue Bicycle Boulevard, portions of which are within the Cleveland Park and Willard Park?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there any request for presentation or any questions or comments about this resolution?
I would like a presentation, please.
Thank you, Vice President Vita. Mr. Arvidsson, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chair Meyer. I'm happy to do a brief presentation, and also on the call tonight is Bill Siegler, who is a consultant for the city. This is a city project, so if there are technical questions about the bikeway project itself, Bill Siegler will be able to answer those as well. So what we have here is a type of action that has come before the board before with regard to a federal statute called 4F. And essentially this statute protects parkland when there are federally funded transportation projects. So federally funded projects have to mitigate impacts to parks, and then the park owners must approve the park use and the mitigation. So you all have to sign off on any of those park impacts. Trail and pedestrian improvements can qualify for a special version of 4F, a simpler analysis called a temporary occupancy, and that is what we are considering tonight. In order to qualify, a temporary occupancy project must meet the 5 criteria that are on the screen in front of you, which are that they have to have a short duration, they have to not have any change in land ownership, so we will continue to own the park outright and unencumbered. They should have a minor scope of work, no permanent adverse impacts, and they need to restore the park to its pre-project condition at the conclusion of the project. So staff does feel, we do concur with the assessment that a temporary occupancy is the appropriate method here. Next slide, please. Specifically, this project is about the Queen Avenue Bicycle Boulevard, which is a federally funded City of Minneapolis project, which will place a bikeway through North Minneapolis, north to south, on, you guessed it, Queen Avenue. The route does pass through Cleveland and Willard Parks, which both essentially they span Queen Avenue. Queen Avenue is interrupted by these two parks. The North Service Area Master Plan, as adopted by the board in 2019, does support the Queen Avenue Bikeway explicitly, and it does affirm its passage through these parks. The community and then the commissioners felt at the time that the benefits of having this bikeway run through the parks include that there would be improved connections between the parks and the neighborhoods around them. It would bring more users to the parks, which does make them safer, and it also improves accessibility as part of the project. So there will be new curb ramps and new pathways installed, which does help with accessibility in the park. Next slide, please. So essentially at Cleveland Park, we are talking about a new 14-foot wide trail connection, which will reach from the north end of the park into the heart of the park. And I will show some graphics on this in a moment. The existing remaining park trails will be retained. There's going to be some new accessible ramps. And there was just recently a new playground constructed at Cleveland Park. And I want to assure you that there is no additional impact to that project. The city has been coordinating closely with us and with project manager Crystal Passy to make sure that recent work by the park board is not impacted. At Willard Park, it will be a reconstruction of an existing walking path through the center of the park to create a 14-foot wide trail that can be multi-use for bikes and pedestrians. It also includes new accessible ramps, and there's no impact to existing park amenities there either. It's important to note at Willard Park that the actual construction project will happen on school board property. Willard Park is operated by the park board, but about 2/3 of that park is owned by the school board. This does occur on the school board portion. However, because we operate the park, we have asked that we be the agency with jurisdiction under 4F and get to approve this project, and the school board has agreed with that decision. So that's why we're looking at Willard as well, even though we don't outright own the land under the project. Once these projects are constructed, MPRB will operate and maintain these portions of the trails as they're doing today. So they're essentially replacing some of our existing trails, which are maintained today, with newer and slightly wider trails. So we will continue to have that maintenance opportunity. Next slide, please. So I'm going to get into a couple of quick graphics here. This is a connections and gaps map from the North Service Area Master Plan. There's a north-south kind of green colored dashed line on the left-hand side of that map, which is the Queen Avenue Bikeway. So this was explicitly supported in the North Service Area Master Plan. Next slide. As well as in the specific park master plans for Cleveland and Willard Park. Note, I did not put this red line on here just for tonight. This is what is in the master plan to specifically highlight our desire to have the Queen Avenue Bike Boulevard come through this park. And so this is essentially the red line that the city is going to be constructing. Next slide. Similarly at Willard Park, though the routing is slightly different than what you see here because we've not made any of these other improvements at Willard. The main operational idea that the Queen Avenue Bikeway again passes through Willard Park and then through the school site is here in the Service Area Master Plan. Next slide. These are some design drawings from the city's project. On the top half of there, you do see Willard Park. And so you can see how the Queen Avenue Bikeway passes along Queen and then comes through Willard Park on the existing pathways, which would be reconstructed. Next slide. Similarly, at Cleveland Park, now on the bottom side, the bottom half of this graphic, Cleveland Park is kind of on the left-hand side of that bottom half, and Lucy Laney School at Cleveland Park is in the bottom center with Penn Avenue at the bottom. So you can see the Queen Avenue Bikeway takes a bit of a detour around the Lucy Laney backyard, as it were, and uses the alley where the bus drop-offs are. And then the new path that will be constructed comes from that North 33rd Avenue cul-de-sac and drops into the park and then uses existing pathways to get to Queen Avenue as it travels to the south, which is to the left side of your drawing. Next slide. So these graphics just show the area of impact, which is an important piece for 4F understanding. So the area of impact within Cleveland Park is these red dashed lines. You can see that's a very minor area of impact compared to the park as a whole. And at Willard Park, next slide, you can see again basically that trail corridor that passes through. Note here that the park property that we own is outlined in that brown dashed line. and the remainder of that site is owned by public schools. So I just again want to make clear that we do not have ownership of the park, of the portion of the park that this project will pass through at Willard, but we have been authorized as the agency with jurisdiction. So you are the ones that will okay this project if you choose to do so. I believe that is the conclusion of my presentation. Authorizing this tonight would allow the project to go forward. Should you choose not to, there would be continued conversation with the city to address whatever concerns you have. So should you opt to not approve this tonight, it would be helpful for staff to understand what things we should be working on with the city in order to mitigate effects that you might see. And again, just a reminder, Bill Siegler, one of the consultants on the project, is on the call tonight if you have specific questions about the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Albertson. Do commissioners have any additional questions or comments?
I don't have any questions. Willard is my favorite park in our entire system. So I just want to make sure there's not too much traffic in my favorite park director at Arvidsson. I go over there on my lunch break to hide from people and be quiet and have my lunch. So this is great. I like it. I know, a few years ago we had a project where bike lanes are going to go down Penn Avenue, and folks thought that the safer route would be down Queen Avenue from a city perspective. So it's interesting to see now that it's coming together.
Thank you, Commissioner Vita. Not seeing any other hands raised. Secretary, please call the roll.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Vice Chair Forney.
Aye.
Chair Meyer.
Aye.
You have 5 ayes.
That carries. Is there a motion for Resolution 2021-152, a resolution approving creation of a parkland development and easement agreement with Bryn Mawr Development LLC and Swervo Development Corporation and the City of Minneapolis for application of the private land maintained for public use, parkland dedication option to the Worth on the Woods proposed at 2800 Wayzata Boulevard?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there any request for presentation? I am not seeing one. If there are no questions or comments, Secretary, please call the roll.
Vice President Vita.
Aye.
Commissioner Musich.
Aye.
Commissioner French.
Aye.
Vice Chair Forney.
Aye.
Chair Meyer.
Aye.
You have 5 ayes.
That carries and concludes our business for the evening. So if there are no objections, I'll declare the meeting adjourned. Have a great night, everyone.
Thanks, Joe.
Goodbye.